Hello, hello, hello. Hi Kumar, welcome to my stream, and it's so good to see that you've joined here as well. How are you? All good. I am all good. Yeah, I've just been in a 1 hour long meeting with my colleagues, and now I'm doing this 2 hour stream. So let's see. Glad to be able to see you for first time live. Yeah, I'm wondering when you will get on this live stream coding fab that everybody seems to be doing these days, so I can watch you as well. But now you know what I look like and what I sound like. That's nice. I don't know if anybody else popped in or if it's just you and me. No, there's somebody else here. Toolkicks. Who is that? Say hello in chat. Or maybe they're shy. I remember I've seen that username somewhere else before. I just don't remember. What have I been doing? Well, teaching. We've been doing a lot of remote teaching, and that has taken a lot of resources for us to actually do and do proper. Instead of just the first few days, it was more or less an emergency solution that we figured out how to get our video streams up and going with our students, and now it's a lot more focused, and that took a lot of effort. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. Let me just retweet my live thing so that people know that we're live here. Where is it? There we go. There we go. Retweet through. Thank you, mate. Yeah, so I've been busy doing a lot of experimentation with my streaming gear and getting that up to working proper, and then I've been busy teaching basically. So yeah. What about you? You've been. Oh yeah, you had exams. How did you have any replies from the exams? Did you get any grades back? No, there's probably a lot of delay too. Questionable judgment. I will go in and allow links from Nightbot. Oh no, that's okay. Don't worry about that. Where do we do that? I've never really used Nightbot before. Let's see if we can figure this out together, maybe. Where do we... Spam protection, perhaps? Links? I am going to whitelist. Here we go. Let's see. Let's whitelist a few things. Per line. Okay. Twitter. Yeah, this is a really nice tool, by the way. Screw Nightbot. Who is Toolkicks? Can you put a name to it? I know I've seen that handle somewhere before, but I can't really remember where. I think it might be one of my students, actually. and was it Twitter? Let's allow Twitter to. Yeah. Old student of mine. Who is it? Is that forehead? Who is it? Give me a name, or do you want me to guess? I'm terrible at guessing. Forgot to say it. I know one of my other students followed me the other day, to one of my old students. I don't know, how would you translate toolkicks to English? I don't know if there's any if there's any word or phrase that could work the same way in English. Basically, it's when somebody's whining, we yeah, but it's a very Danish expression. It's when somebody's whining, we say this to them, and it's basically have a biscuit, and it's a whiny biscuit that we throw at them when they're whining. But I don't really know if there's any good. Let's try Google Translate. Now you get to see my my search history. Crying biscuit. Yeah, okay. But it's not really a very great translation. That's what it means anyway. You can try and guess. But if you already give up, I can tell you. Okay. Toolkicks, is it somebody who uses Twitch, who knows about Twitch, who does Twitch for like regular stuff, because you have like an icon at your name, so you're kind of a Twitch regular person. So it's one of the gamers. Who could it be? When was it from? What class was it from? How long ago was it? See if there's any reply. When did you graduate? The 83s. Okay. Who could it be? Is it... Shit, I've almost forgotten all your names. That's terrible. No, I give up. I can't recall. You have to tell me. Do it. Tell me now. Or not. Oh, fuck. Hello. Camera quality and everything looks so good. Thank you, Kumar. It's you can do a studio setup tour. Yeah. I might do that at a later stage, but right now my apartment is a bit of a mess because today I just got a new couch chair, and so everything is kind of a mess in here, so I won't be doing the camera thing. But what I have is I've got my obviously I've got a pretty good camera. It's a Canon DSLR EOS 80D, so it's a pretty good semi-pro or the high-end amateur DSLR camera, which I'm using on my computer with the Elgato Camlink 4K, So if I had other equipment that could stream in 4K, I could be doing this in 4K, but I don't, so I can't. And yes, I am using OBS. I'm using Streamlabs OBS because I just like the interface better. Makes me spend a lot of money. Exactly. I bought a chair. I bought some key lights. I bought what else did I buy? I bought the Elgato Stream. Where is it here? Stream Deck. All sorts of different things so that I can do some proper streaming, and it looks just a wee bit professionally. I even put one of my good friends is a designer, so I made him design some new overlays for my channel here. So at some point when he finishes that, then we'll see what that looks like. And was I using OBS? Yeah, I am using OBS. I'm using Streamlabs OBS because I just like the design of it better. I like the interface better, and I can do some chat stuff in. I have the mini feed with all the events, and I have my chat there, and that's just easier to deal with. All got cancelled due to lockdown. Yeah, I think you wrote something about Amazon being delaying all non-essential packages, didn't you? I think I remember I saw you write stuff like that. Yeah, I remember. But that makes sense too. I mean, why would those warehouse workers risk their well-being to go to package the dildo, or what? Not that you're ordering a dildo. That's not what I'm saying. but you know what I mean. Non-essential stuffs. So how are everybody dealing with this whole, let's not call it that which shall not be named. I am voting that we call it Voldemort from now on. How are everybody dealing with Voldemort? Is everybody okay? Nobody dares to write. Can you? Oh, I was just asking if everybody's okay. I was trying to rebrand this crisis as Voldemort because then we don't get. It's you know, it's bad luck to say that word, which is also the name of a beer. So let's not use it too much, and that's why I'm trying to rebrand it as Voldemort. So in these Voldemort times, how is everybody doing? Is everybody okay? How are everybody dealing with the whole having to be in a lockdown? Spending my money on stupid stuff. Yeah. That's what we're all doing. Just bored at home. Yeah. Glad you're good though. You two, Toolkicks and Kumark. I met Toolkicks is one of my old students. The 83s was, when did you graduate? That was summer last year, I think, wasn't it? Or was it October last year? I think it was summer last year. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, October last year. Yeah, okay. And Kumar is a guy I met, a very young. What are you, 16 still, or did you grow up? Kumar. Ooh, Lille Larsen, that's Stefan. I think that's Stefan. Yeah, Kumar is 16. And he's from India. I hope you don't mind I'm saying these things, but he's a really talented developer, and he's tweeting about his development journey, and it's really fun to follow him. And his Twitter, I think your Twitter is the same as your username here. Let's see. Where do I have you? Kumar. Okay, it's the same. Yeah, you can follow Kumar on Twitter. It's the same handle on Twitter as he has here in the chat. So go ahead and follow him. He's a really nice guy and he's really talented. And the plan was that we were supposed to work together on this email system. That I'm not going to talk too much about it, but time has gotten in the way and it's a bit on pause right now. But as soon as I have more time, I don't know when that will be, then we will collaborate some more on it. And it's a really exciting project, and I'm looking forward to actually having time to do it. So whenever life dictates that we shall have the time for it, then we'll do that. I hope that's okay. So. Lille Larsen, that's Stefan. You started a new job and got sent home after 3 days. Did you get fired, or did you just get sent home with pay? Or like a vacation or a leave or something? Trying to follow the chat. You're not very chatty. Hopefully I start again. Yeah, I hope so too. It sucks that you just started a new job and then getting sent home like that within a few days. That's just terrible. Sorry, but I hope that they'll take you back, because you're one of the talented ones as well. So definitely you would be an asset to any company hiring you. All right, so for today I wanted to talk a bit about some application architecture and what to do with the whole planning period when you've got this idea that you want to make an application, and what should your architecture be. And when I say architecture, I mean how should all the moving parts of your application interact with each other, and where should we host them, and all sorts of stuff like that. And I've got this idea that I'm working with another colleague of mine on, which is very much on the idea base, and I'll take my I'll use that as an example, and then you can see which when you're making like big enterprise level applications, what should your decision process be like, and stuff like that. So anytime you've got questions, just shoot them up in the chat and I will try to answer them as good as I can. And yeah. So I've got this, that's my desktop. I've got this app that I use a lot for drawing up ideas, which is Draw.io. Oh, they've changed name apparently, diagrams.net. Which is basically, it's like a flowchart application where you can make, you can drag in your different shapes, and you can connect them via these arrows that pop up here. It's nice that I want to show you how it works, and then I can't get it to work like that. You can oh, not like that. Like that, and you can connect them and move them around. It's really nice to like draw up something. You don't miss that desktop background. What is wrong with that desktop background? That's like the best desktop background there is. I mean, let's take a vote in the chat. Who likes this and who doesn't like it? What's not to like about it? It's a pink fluffy unicorn dancing on a rainbow. What's not to like? Seriously. So I use this app for drawing up pretty much anything when I'm just brainstorming ideas. You've seen it way too much. You've seen it way too little. That's the problem. You just haven't gotten around to it. Have you tried Excalidraw? Is it Excalidraw or Excalidraw? Let's see. Excalidraw. Okay, it was Excalidraw. No, I haven't tried that. Let's see what that can do. Yeah, okay. Can you do like connections, or do you have to? Yeah, okay. I can see this. I just the thing is with Draw.io, you can connect. Like you want this arrow to connect to this box here, and then whenever I move this box around, then this part of the arrow follows it around. And that's it's more for a flow chart, and you need to draw up like big drawings. That's when I use this. I haven't actually tried Excalidraw, but that's one I'll look into. Thank you for that. Website prototypes. Yeah, kind of minimalistic, but not for flowcharts. Yeah, I agree. It wasn't meant for flowcharts. It's more like for just jamming some ideas, right? Oh, I almost forgot. Time for the thinking cap, because now we're gonna work. So, all right. So the thing I want to make is basically this application, which if you are familiar in any form with Shopify, it's a big application where you can create an account as a shop owner, and then via their website shopify.com you can create your shop. You can manage your products and your stock, how much you have in stock of each product. You can do campaigns and all sorts of nice things. And then you get a subdomain on Spotify. So if I had a shop on, not Spotify, Shopify. If you had a shop on Shopify, then mine would probably be brianscheesestore.shopify.com. And then you can go into that, and you can buy some themes and put onto that, and then sell your stuff from that site. Or you can do your own custom domain and then just have it redirect to that site or forward to that site. And that's a very nice idea, but I was thinking that I wanted to make something sort of similar, but a bit more API front end static site friendly. So basically what the plan here is, we need to make a shop application. That's the basic idea. Where's the size thing? There. Nope. Okay. Here we go. We have this shop application. Let's remove that text. No, let's move it over here, because what this basically mean. Oh, these days I'm creating a superhuman for CRM, and DevOps is the hardest part. As you're creating a superhuman for CRM. Customer relations management, by the way, CRM. I think that's what you mean. A superhuman. I'm not sure what you mean by that. DevOps is the hardest part that I'm facing. Well, then you should watch this, because that's what I'm going to talk about. So yeah, you're in the right place. So let's see, what do we want this thing to do? We want it to do product management. Okay, product management, and we need to have some sort of stock keeping thing going on. We need to do campaigns. I hope my keyboard isn't too loud for you. Otherwise, it's just some sort of keyboard ASMR. Let's see. Product management, stock keeping, campaigns, customer management, of course. If I could spell customer management. And some sort of fulfillment. That's only one L there, fulfillment. Which is how do we, that's when a customer orders a product, then we should work on packaging it, we should ship it, and we should make sure that the customer got their product, and possibly also once they got their product, send out some form of email with a survey where they can either give us a star or 5 stars on Trustpilot, or make a review on Amazon or whatever. So that's fulfillment. Let's see. So these are there might be other things as we go along. These can come on here, but or I can put them down here. But this is pretty much what I want this application to do. Maybe we should do that the other way. That's very okay. Arrange? No? There we go. My screen? What's with my screen? What? Oh, sorry. Wow. Thank you. Okay. I was just typing stuff and thinking that you could see it, but thank you for writing that. So no, basically I just did these product management and stock keeping, campaigns, customer management, and fulfillment, and just tied them up here. So this is what the application is supposed to do, but that's not all of it, because this application is the one that the shop owner logs into. So this doesn't have any shop front end, which a customer for the shop can log into and interact with shop with. So this is like the closed area of the application which people pay for access to. Maybe there's a free tier and 2 other tiers of subscription to this, but I don't know. So we need some form of shop front end over here, which is built with a static site generator. That's the whole idea of it, because static sites have a vast performance advantage over server-side rendered applications. At least once you reach applications that have a certain amount of traffic, then you need to consider can I lean on having my server do all the work, or should I relieve some of that work from the server and then push it over to the front end, to the client computers and devices? So I'm going to do this thing where people can host their own or buy a hosting from the application, where they have their static site generated shop. I'm just going to write front end plus some web services of some form. Maybe not AWS, it can be anything. It could even be Netlify functions or something like that. And there's a reason for using those AWSs, and that's for stuff like, can we move it? Yeah, for stuff like logging in to the website and what do you call it? Analytics. When we need to do some analytics, we need an application key or something like that, an application secret and an application access token and stuff like that. We don't want those accessible from the front end, so we do that through some server functions. Yeah, that's the basic idea. So this is the general overview of the application, but this is a very high level view of the applications. There's no real technology discussed here other than that it's server-side generated and we're using some form of server function at the top. Sometimes when we need CEO, we might have to do some SSR. Am I right? That I would say that depends on how you do it, Kumar. I think it can work as well on both server side rendered and static side generated, so it's purely front end. But the thing is that if you're using the Jamstack or you're using pure HTML and CSS static website pages, those are already very high on SEO indexes, SEO indexes. Sorry, and the reason for that is because those technologies were already made for performance, and as long as you update them regularly, or you make sure that you have the right content on them, then it doesn't really matter that much. And you can do that with both server-side rendered pages, and you can do it with your static site. So it's not really that big of a deal. But where the huge advantage is that static sites are cached, you can serve them through a CDN, so that you utilizes caches that are physically closer to you, cache servers that are physically closer to you, and that way you get a huge performance jumpstart on the whole SEO. So that's why I'm thinking this is a potential big deal for an application like that. You get a fast website, and once I'm going to lay this out more in a moment, but once we get to that, you'll see why we can do some pretty amazing things with what this basically is going to be. It's going to be a Jamstack sort of site that has some complex backends and some rather simple front ends. Right. So this is the basic idea, and as I said before, this is a very high level view of what we're going to work with. And what I am going to do now is I want to show. Can we zoom it out a bit? Yeah, we can. I'm going to show what I would, how I would build this up layer-wise, because we need to make some decisions before we start building something like this. We need to decide what technologies to use, where we need to host it. Do we want to make it into a monolith application, or do we want to make it into an microservice application, or do we want it somewhere in between? And I can speak a little about the whole idea of monoliths first. The monolith application is one server. Let's just do a bit bigger text. No, that's not bigger. There we go. All right. So the monolith application is one server, usually. Oh my God. I dislike this. How's this? Okay. It's one server that has possibly. Why does it do that? I'm not sure I like this program anymore. Okay, you can see what I'm typing here, right? We've got one server, and usually monoliths are server-side rendered. So that means we have a backend application which communicates requests and responses usually directly with a database server, then treats the data and renders it and sends it to the client, fully rendered. So there's no front-end dynamics necessarily. There can be, and it's a good thing if there is. Often it's a good thing for the user experience, but we have everything here. So we have like a server-side rendering engine, and that could be made with some PHP or some .NET, C# stuff. It doesn't really matter what language we're doing it with. It could be done with Node.js, which is gaining a lot of popularity lately, or it has been for the last 6 years or so. And then we have some form of database, and it's all on the same server. So it could be a MySQL or a PostgreSQL, or it could be something like Mongo or MongoDB, NoSQL. Yeah, exactly. MongoDB. So it could be some form of SQL, or it could be NoSQL, document-based databases. It's not really important. And then we also have the web server, which is the entry point of our whole thing. HTTP web server, possibly an HTTPS web server. That's usually something like Apache, or it could be what are the other ones called? I should know this. Okay, this is embarrassing because look here. On my own website, I even wrote it down so I wouldn't forget the name of it. And that's a bit Nginx, that one. Wait, oops. But some form of HTTP server that basically serves the code that we're writing over here. And this stuff should render into some HTML and some CSS and possibly also some JavaScript. Oops. There we go. So this is the monolith server. And there are some advantages to this, and there are some disadvantages. The advantage is that you have all your code gathered in one place, and it's easy to maintain. And it's an approach that you see for a lot of applications for many years since they started, and up until 2 years ago or so. WordPress functioned in this way. It would be a monolith app that you either downloaded to your own server, or you could run it via WordPress.com. And that's how that worked, and it was okay. It did the job. The thing is, if you have one server running that has to deal with all the requests that come in, then at some point when you get a lot of requests, then the server is going to bulk, and you're going to have some package loss or some traffic issues with your server, and then your server isn't going to perform that well, especially because it's dealing with both the server-side rendering and the database operations that are running. The HTTP server, it doesn't require that much to run an HTTP server, but the rest of it, depending on your application complexity, it can be a lot of work for a simple web server machine to serve a lot of requests every single second. So that's the disadvantage of this approach for the monolith server. And that is something that we're seeing lately, that we're going away from. We're moving away from the monolith app. The monolith app still has applications today. So the consideration we should do is, do I expect to get so much traffic on my website or on my application that I actually should possibly divide my service, my application, into smaller services? So we have a separation of concern, and we have a more complex infrastructure. Won't the server be loaded by queries and mutations too? I'm not sure what you mean, Kumar. Will it be loaded by queries and mutations? Are we talking about something like GraphQL? I think that's possibly what you mean. I keep connecting and disconnecting from the chat, so if I miss, or at least my client is, it means when in monolith traffic is lost, can the same be with any kind of request to the server? Yes, it can. Usually requests are queued up. When there are too many requests, then you can either put the requests in a queue, or you can not do anything about it, and then they're lost. And if there are very many requests at the same time, then what happens is that you basically get a distributed denial of service, a DDoS, which isn't necessarily an attack that you're experiencing, but just because your server cannot handle that many requests. So yeah, the traffic is lost if in most cases, if there is so much traffic to the server, then either the server will crash because it cannot deal with it, or other people can simply not use it because their requests are lost because they're queued so far behind. I hope that makes sense. So with a monolith server like this, then that is an issue. And that's the issue that the Jamstack, among other technologies or approaches to the technology, is trying to solve. So let's look at how we can do that. And that's the whole thing that I want to do. And I'm going to build this from the bottom up, which means I'm going to start with Kumar, and to avoid crashing of server, we have to optimize code, or just upgrade the droplet will do the trick. Yes, in those cases where you're renting VPS from places like you're mentioning a droplet, so that's DigitalOcean. You can upgrade to allow more traffic to your, so you get an allowance of more traffic to your server. And that's one way to do it, definitely. That could definitely do it, but it will only go so far, and it's a rather expensive solution. And I am going to show how we can do this for virtually no money at all, which is really exciting. There's one place where we do have to spend. Actually, there are two places we do have to spend money. We have to have a domain name. And we have to have a file storage and a place where we can store files, and we kind of do have to pay for that. But the other things that I'm going to show is perfectly fine for a large amount of traffic without actually paying for it. So I'll get to that. And then Lille Larsen says, the thing you're talking about, could that be solved with Docker Kubernetes on AWS so it spins off more servers? Yes, it can be solved that way. That's basically, and I'm going to talk about that actually, not exactly with containers, but if we had more of this one server, I don't know if we can just copy paste it. Is that possible? Yeah, okay. So if we had like 2 copies of the same server running side by side in each their container, then we would need something called a load balancer in front of it, which basically we have like there's a cloud somewhere here. No, I'm not going to use the cloud. Cloud's bad. Bad cloud, go away. So we have a request that comes in for load balance. Sorry, there. So what we're doing here is we're creating a request from the user, and we hit the load balancer first, but then the load balancer decides which of these two servers should receive this request. And the load balancer decides that. So the load balancer checks out which server is least busy right now, and the least busy server is going to get the traffic, and then maybe in the next time we're going to send the traffic over to the other one. But this presents a new problem, which I am going to talk about once I get to it. But it's a really good question. Let's see, I created package review by hosting frontend on now.sh with serverless Lambda functions, and it's free except the domain cost. Yeah, exactly. The load balancer should run on its own instance of a server. That would be the most optimal, and then redirect the traffic to the other servers that runs behind it. So yeah, the load balancer should run on the server itself. Yeah, and there are so many on now.sh. You can get on Heroku, on Netlify. There are so many on GitHub Pages. There are so many options for running a simple front-end application. And as soon as you want something like Lambda functions, you can run it on Amazon. You can run it on Netlify functions. Heroku still, obviously, because Heroku allows you to run backend applications. So that's definitely a way to go, how Kuma did with the package review page. Okay, so moving away from the monolith, I'm going to build from the bottom up. I'm going to build, it has something like Lambda functions, yeah. What I want to do is I want some form of cluster of servers here, and I'm going to use MongoDB on Atlas, which is Lambda. It uses AWS under the hood. Yeah, I think that's what Netlify does as well. It's just their own wrapper around AWS. I think that's how it works anyway. So I want to have this cluster of databases, and what that means is we'll basically have as many as we want. I'll just put in 3 for the sake of this example. And what they do, the idea of these, can we connect them like that? Yeah, okay. The thing is, what they do, what these databases do is that they mirror each other. So when we send some data and into one database, then the others are going to mirror them almost right away. Or you can set specific times for when these databases are going to mirror each other. But you can set them up as a cluster of their own. So that's what I'm going to do here. So this is our database cluster, and we can do this already by going to Atlas, MongoDB Atlas, and host it. Can never remember if it's .com or .org. It's .com. In here we can. I think I've already got an account, haven't I? Yeah, I've already got an account somewhere down here. But you can go into that website and create an account, and you can. There's a free tier where you're allowed to create a certain number of collections in your database. So you can get started for free, and then you pay as you go if you hit any traffic uses or anything bigger than what they allow as their free tier. I need my tea. Don't forget to drink. Okay. So this is the very bottom of our application. This is where all the information about users' products and their orders, like invoices, the stock keeping and the emails and everything, all that stuff is stored in these databases. So that's the lowest level of our application. But this has to connect to something, and it needs to connect to two things at the next level, and those two things are an API of some sort, REST or GraphQL, and the other thing is the shop application. This is the one that shop owners log into for their dashboard, where they can manage their shop. And the that's not correct. That's wrong. This is not what we're having. We're having an auth server. Okay. Those are the two things that we're going to put at the next level of this application. And the idea of these services is that all the data is going to be presented from the API. I would prefer it. Does the auth server need to be different? I would definitely prefer it. The reason for that being is that we want our applications to only ask the auth service for authentication when we need it, and then but I'll show something about that. But then it returns a token, and then you use the token for your regular requests to the API. And the reason for this being a separate service entirely is that we could let somebody else run it for us. The whole authentication. The idea of these microservices is that you don't have to run everything yourself. The authentication service could be an external actor, something like log in with your Google account or log in with your Facebook account, social media stuff. So it doesn't even have to be something that we own, but we just require people who want to shop on our website to log in with their Google or Facebook or whatever. So that's the reason for it being a separate service entirely. But both these services, the authentication service and the authorization service and the API, are going to talk directly with the databases, of course. And let's see how we are going to draw that. Let's just do the arrows. There. Okay, so these are the only two applications that are allowed to talk directly with the database. So that means that we have a single point of truth here, where this is okay. I will tell you my process. Please tell me if I'm right. I create a route in backend that does the auth and returns a token. Then I save as a cookie on front end, and then every request I make, I give token as an argument and get data from the server. Is this process right? Okay, yeah, you can do it that way. There's a lot of discussion on how to safely store those access tokens on the front end, because that's the issue. When you're on the front end, how do you store those tokens safely? And especially if you have a token refresh token process going, which is like that's what you would normally do in an auth-o sort of algorithm. There's a lot of discussion on how to do this, and I'm a bit between two ways of doing it, and one of them is storing it in a front-end cookie, but that's not very safe at all. At least you should do the HTTP only and secure cookies and all that stuff. Otherwise, you're gonna hurt yourself and your users. So that should be a concern, definitely. But the other way is having your application request a new token every single time you do a request. And that means you have to request the token from the auth service and then do your request to the API. And the next request you do the same. And that's where GraphQL comes in and solves a huge problem, which is you don't have to make a lot of different requests to get a lot of info or a lot of data back. You can do one request and get all the data you need for one page view. And that's all you need to do. So you don't have to do that bounce between the auth service and the REST API or the GraphQL API. You don't have to do that bounce between them all the time. How does that work? Is auth service a third party, or do we have to create it? I always use GraphQL. I've noticed you always use GraphQL. GraphQL is a really awesome technology that's definitely here to stay. I'm not saying goodbye to REST at all. Especially because there are so many legacy things that runs on REST and SOAP APIs. So we still need to concern ourselves with those. But you can also have the same thing. You can have a REST API that has a GraphQL layer. The auth service, is that a third party, or do we have to create it? You can do both. I would say if you don't know what you're doing, definitely use a third party authentication service. Because there are so many things that can go wrong, especially if you're making an application where you're dealing with money, subscriptions and stuff like that, personal information. There's so many things that can go wrong in a big application like that. So you need to be concerned about security. And people like Google and Facebook already, I know Facebook, but whatever. But they already concerned themselves with the technology of the security of creating tokens and storing them securely and all that stuff. So you don't have to. And if you don't know how to do that, then definitely don't go into it. You can create some stuff that is not so dangerous and experiment with it until you get a pretty good idea, and then definitely learn from the ones that already did it. How do they manage their security? I hope that answers the question. But basically, the authentication service could just be an endpoint token that you send a post request to with a username and a password. And then it returns a JSON object with access token and a refresh token, and that's basically enough. Google sign in and Facebook sign in, but still my token saving process is the same. Yeah, if you save it as a cookie, then you're doing the exact same thing. I don't know if you've ever seen Passport. Oh, npm. There we go. This one, Passport. It's a huge library that has all sorts of. You can see it makes Dutes, it makes Auth0, it makes SAML login, it makes local login, which is just password and username authentication. You can do all sorts of things with it. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a really good library that I've been using a lot, especially for. It has a website somewhere. Is it just this link? Yeah. Okay. It has a lot of strategies for different login services. You can see Passport, bearer tokens, Google Auth, Twitter, GitHub. What else do we have? Steam. You can log in with Steam. Spotify. Local API key for your own API keys stuff. There's web chat, there's Instagram, there's all sorts of things you can do. Slack, log in with your Slack account. which is really fun to play with, and they do for single page applications. They do a really great way of storing it. But you could also do that on your front end application. If I can get to it, let's see. There's one thing that I want to do. Didn't know that. We'll check out Passport. Any tutorials on Passport? Actually, their own website is really good and explains really well how to do things. But let's see. Let me Google it for you. Passport tutorial. Passport.js probably. Let's see if we want to do Google auth. There's a video tutorial here. OAuth login with Passport.js. Google Strategy Setup. That's probably the same series. This. I would probably watch those videos. I don't know if you are into video tutorials or written tutorials, but people have their own tastes. I think I actually did this one once. On Scotch.io. Scotch.io is a really great website as well to get tutorials. Those are written tutorials. I prefer written tutorials myself. Right. Before we continue to the next layer, there's one thing that I want to do. I want to make sure that I have an API that can handle a lot of requests at the same time. So I'm going to make a cluster here as well. Of APIs, which are going to have a form of. Can we remove this? Yeah. Okay. Wow, that got a little messed up. There we go. Can I not delete like one point? Oh well. I want to make a cluster of these, which has a load. That's not how you do it. Oh, there we go. Which has a load balancer on the in front of it. So the APIs themselves, they talk to the database as before. No real difference there. But on the front. I want a load balancer which balances the traffic. All kind of tutorials. Okay, thanks for the valuable info. You're welcome. That's what we're here for. So I want to put a load balancer in front of this stuff here. There we go. Which directs the traffic. That's like what I was talking about earlier. Which directs the traffic. Come on, there. Which basically directs the traffic into either API, whichever is not busy at the moment. And you can have as many of these as you want. And you could always just start with 2, and then as your application grows and your traffic grows and your customer base grows and you need more capacity, then you just copy these in. And you could do that like Lille Larsen suggested. You could just do that in containers. So you just spin up a new container of the same server that you already have running, just on a different instance of a server, so that they don't take CPU power from each other or CPU capacity from each other. Okay, the authentication service, I'm just going to have a single one over here because at least to begin with, you can always do the same thing as you're doing over here. We could also do over here, but there's an extra need. I think I'm going to draw it for you so you can see it. Let's just consider that we have more than one authentication service going. That's obviously just as before. Also, oh my god, it's over here. That's also going to be in a cluster. And we're going to have a load balancer in front of it, just like we have at the other application. But the thing is, we're going to provide authentication tokens from this service. And we're also going to provide refresh tokens, and the refresh tokens needs to be saved. We don't want to save them in the database, which means that if we had that, let's consider this situation. We have our front-end application up here. Have the front-end application here. And we send a request for a token. That means that what we get back from this application, which is here, what returns from it is token and a refresh token. That's what we get back from the server over here. So whenever our token, this token here expires, so we can't use it anymore up here, it's now invalid, we need to send the refresh token back to the server down here. But which server had it last? And we don't want to save the refresh tokens in the database, because the idea is to remove as much load on the database as we possibly can. And one way to do that is to have the refresh token stored within the cache, within the cache of the authentication service. So what we need down here is a cache, which both authentication services, or all the authentication services, have in common. Let's just draw this up so we have everything right. There we go. Right. And let's delete this stuff again. So refresh token, is it constant? It gives us every time we yeah, that's all right, Kumar. Every time we want a new token, we get a new refresh token. So the refresh token also has an expiration date. The token we send has an expiration date. Could be 5 minutes, could be 1 hour, could be 1 day. It shouldn't be too long. I would normally not go with anything more than possibly something like 30 minutes. So a token is valid for 30 minutes, and then the refresh token is valid for a day, 2 days, something like that. But the refresh tokens are stored in a cache that both authentication, or all the authentication servers, have in common. And that could be something like Redis, which is a cache service. So let's just do this like that. There we go. All right. Which means that if this server here created the token and the refresh token, then our next request with the refresh token for a new token enters this server. That doesn't matter anything, because both these servers has access to the cache and can check, is this refresh token valid? And if it is, then let's create a new token for the user, and we don't even have to connect to the database to do that, because the token is valid, so we just create a new token. Right. So these are the bottom layers. This is the data layer of the application, an API that runs on its own over here with a load balancer, so we can cluster it and do some magic stuffs when we need to have more capacity. R, where did I say R? Where did I say is? I've got language intelligence in chat. And of course, we've got the authentication service, which is also a bunch of copies of the same service. Sessions are harder to do. Yeah, you're not even... He created his own sentence. I create my own sentences. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I get it now. I didn't get that question though. The original question. I only got the correction. I only got the R, because I don't know what it is, but my chat on this thing pops in and out every now and then. So if I miss a question, just shout it out again. I'll be happy to answer it, of course. Sessions are harder to do in this setup. Actually, we're not using sessions at all. This is a stateless application that we're creating, where we don't have the state of being logged in, which is usually saved in a session. We don't even do that. We save a token, and then we use that token with every request, and we're only allowed access to the data that we request as long as we provide that token. That's a stateless. That's the whole idea behind the REST API. That we're doing stateless requests. We cannot log into an API. We can log into a front-end application, and that's where it gets a little tricky with the whole state of being logged in and not logged in. And that's the thing that Kumar also mentioned earlier about how do we store these tokens? Do we store them in a cookie, or how do we even do that? And that's something we'll take a look at here. So I have the front end dashboard, which is where users of the shop owners are going to log in and create their products and put a price on them and upload images and stuff like that. Does this particular process have a name terminology that I can search on YouTube to learn more later? Gee, that's a very good question. Microservices, basically it's microservices, but you can manage your microservices yourself, or you can get other people to manage some of them for you. For example, the authentication service, you can get some people to manage that for you. You can get Atlas to manage your MongoDB for you, and you can use Contentful, for example, to manage your API, and they even have a GraphQL layer, so you can do that as well. So there are ways to divide your application into fractions or microservices, so that one service has one job and one job only. Microservices. Hope that makes sense. Anyway, the front-end dashboard up here, where the shop owners log in, and we could do that in a number of ways. We could have a Node.js server running a server-side rendered application, and that's probably the easy way to go with it. Which just fetches from the API down here, and that's the only thing it does. It sends a request to the authentication service when excuse me, when you log in, and then it just requests stuff from over here. And then we could do the session as Lille Larsen knows it, where we just store a token in the session and then we use it that way. That's a way to do it. We could also make a fully front-end run application. That's what I want to do. So I want to make this into a single-page application using React, which is the choice framework for most people these days. So I would, I'm just going to create a label here. Do this, yeah. single page application with React.js. That's the dashboard. And for this, you could really just maybe you could create, I don't know, let's say that the shop system is just named something really boring. Give me a really boring name in chat. A name for this product. Something that I'm definitely not going to use. Yeah, okay. Not niceproduct.com. So that's the name of the product, and then that's where you sign up. That's where you pay for the product, and yeah, basically that's the main entry point of the site. But then when you create your own store, then you could get like a subdomain. So we spin up a new server for that subdomain, for that shop. So I've created a shop called, and this is not going to be a surprise, Brian's Cheese Shop niceproduct.com. And then that's my new entry pointer. That's basically just a copy of this front-end dashboard. So we spin up a new dashboard for each shop. That's one way to do it. Stop posting links. You got a warning by Nightbot. He does not like that that address name. Oh well. But that's one way to do it. Or you could just have a single entry point that everybody logs into, and then they get their own version of the dashboard once they're logged in. That's a different way to do it, and I think that's the one I'm going to go with. So this is the entry point here. So, how are we going to... Oh, I forgot an entire layer here. I've forgotten an entire thing, which is... Let's move this monolith away. Away we go. We're going to need a file server of some sort. Don't take Nightbot too seriously. Because people who own a shop wants to store a lot of assets, files, product images. Maybe it's a PDF file with their terms of service or privacy guidelines, return forms, stuff like that. They want to store that, or maybe they sell non-physical products. Maybe they sell images, photos, and they need to store that somewhere safely. So we need some form of file storage, and it is sort of in the same layer as the API down here. So let's see how we can do that. That should also be, no, that should not be a cluster. That should be more of a container that we just name individually. So this is X1, and once X1 is filled up, then we're gonna make an X2, and then so on. And these are in some way connected to the API, which means, but not directly connected, but at least anything that is saved over here in the file storage gets a representation of that data in the API, which is then saved in the database. And these are the ones which are going to cost money pretty much from the off. Cloudinary for file storage. Cloudinary, I've heard about it, but I've never actually used it. Cloudinary. It's like that. Cloudinary.com, possibly. Sign up for free. Pricing. Okay. Free as long as you need for developers and businesses. For growing image and video needs. $89 a month. Yeah, okay. that's one way of letting somebody else deal with your microservice. You could also do it on DigitalOcean. They have this file bucket sort of thing, file storage, big file storage sort of service, which you can also use. But I don't think they have a free version. They don't have a free tier for that. The credit, who's Cloudinary or DigitalOcean? The credit system isn't very transparent though. Cloudinary, okay. Yeah, I don't know. What is the difference between growing image and video needs? It's probably something with both the storage size and traffic usage. I think it's possibly both. That would make sense to me anyway. It used to cost $17, now it's $0. No credit card required. What is this? Monthly credits? 25. Maximum numbers of users. See, this is where it could be an issue. Possibly, I don't know. What else do we get? Compare plans. You don't get widget, upload widget. You don't get, I don't know what DAM is. Search via the UI. You don't get remote fetch. Oh, this is a problem. Because we need this. We need to be able to do this. You don't get a RESTful API. Well, we don't actually need that because we've got that in the. Can you tell me about Do? Do? Oh, DigitalOcean. I can. It's a website that sells services. There you go. Let's see what they have. Products. What we want is the space, simple object storage. I think that's the one. 250 gigabytes of storage, 1 terabyte of outbound transfer. That's not too bad actually. Unlimited uploads, unlimited spaces, $5 a month. 2 cents per additional gigabyte stored. 1 cent per additional gigabyte transferred. That's not too terrible. File storage, yeah, this but file storage seems confusing. You have droplets, yeah, but this is not a droplet. This is the one that you want. Object storage. So you can store your assets, images and files and stuff on here. That is what it means. Did I misunderstand the question? Let's see, Spaces overview.
Spaces is beautifully simple, scalable, and reliable S3 compatible object storage with a built-in content delivery network.
Upbeat tune.
Perfect for developers and businesses who want to store and deliver web assets, logs, backups, or data archives. Your websites and apps will load much faster with our built-in Edge network. Files are automatic.
Yeah, is it like Amazon S3 bucket? It's exactly like an Amazon S3 bucket. It's the same technology underneath it, I think, actually. And you even get on the disclaimer, by the way, I am not in any way paid by DigitalOcean for saying this, but I think it's a pretty amazing service. You even get a CDN, so you can, yeah, like it says, you can scale easily. So there's, I don't know if you have any experience with the S3 buckets, but yeah, that's what it does basically. Right. Back to the drawing. So we have our file storage stuff down here, and what we do whenever we have like an asset that we want to store, we tell our front-end dashboard thing that we want to store this image. So we send the image to the file storage, and then we get a reply back that says, thank you for your file storage request. Here's your information. They stored the image or whatever for us, and then they send us back like a link to where you can get the permanent link for the file that you stored. And then you send your request to the API that I have this image. I would like the API to be aware of that image. So we save, like, we could have an endpoint on the API somewhere called images. And then that's where we send the post request to. And then the reference to it is finally stored in the database. That's one way to do it anyway. Okay. So now that we've made our dashboard and our users, our customers can enter the dashboard over here, they can make a request to, can we do something with this? Yeah, there. They can make a request for a new access token, and they can make requests to the API, and they can also send files to our bucket over here. And we probably need some form of load balancer at some point over here that tells us whether or not this storage bucket here is full, so we need to store it down here. I'm not going to draw that. We know how to do those things, I think. So we now have our dashboard, and our customers, our shop owners, can log in and create their shop, and they can create their products and their campaigns and all that stuff. So you could do that. I would make a Docker image for each individual thing. Like you don't need a Docker image for the load balancer, because the load balancer is just a one-time implementation and then it runs. So there's no need to Dockerize that. But your API, you could definitely Dockerize it. That makes it easier to deploy new ones whenever you need to scale it up, or just delete one if you need to scale it down. And you should also do it with your authentication service and with not with your cache, because you only need one of those. You could also do it with your databases down here. Not depending on where you do it. If you do it with MongoDB Atlas, then you wouldn't need to do that. How would you do it with the subdomains? Short explanation. Okay, so niceproduct.com is the main website. This is where shop owners go to create their new store. So in here we create a new store, and once we've done that, then we initialize a new process, which basically makes a new Docker, makes this thing down here. So and then we create this one for the individual store, which is the dashboard. And how you can, there's a number of ways you can do this. You can write a shell script, which once we've subscribed to the service up here, we click buy this service, and we enter the name for the store. Then you set a backend script, a shell script. You initialize that, which basically just copies your Docker image and runs it. But you possibly want to send some information to the Docker image. It should be created with this name, this specific name, which is entered in a form up here. So that's the basic idea of it. Hope that makes sense. And then you would have like a million of these, depending on how many shop owners you have, how many shops are tied into your system. That's one way of doing it. The other one is just having one entry point where you don't deal with the subdomains. You just have the one entry point, and then that's like okay, yes, thank you. Okay. This is going to be a very complex thing. Is it possible to automate this process with continuous integration, continuous delivery? I would like to see you create all of this. I am going to create it. I don't know if I'm going to live stream all of it, because a lot of it I'm going to do some exploration too, because I don't necessarily know how to create how to create all of these things. But yeah, you can definitely do it with some sort of CI/CD thing. The whole initialize a GitHub hook and set Travis to create a new image. You could probably do something like that. Travis or Circle CI or whatever. You could probably do something like that. Or like I said, from here, a bash script that sends a message to a server that has room. You would probably want to store something like up to 20 different stores on the same server, so you don't have to create an entirely new server, but you just have one web server and then Docker images for each of your stores on that server. That's one way to do it anyway. All right, so now it's time for the front. What time is it? Whoa, okay, half an hour left. Right. This got complex really fast. But that's great. We want complexity. Complexiveness. Now we're going to deal with the shops. And this is actually not going to be all that difficult. The whole idea of this is that I want to create stores for the store owners individually. Maybe they want to buy an already finished product, like a shelf product that already, this is the theme, this is the way your shop is going to look. Or you can get a customized web shop, and that's obviously going to be more expensive because you need the design and everything like that from the bottom. But basically we have like brianscheeseshop.com, and you have your let's say who's going to use this system. Maybe IKEA is going to use this system, so they have their shop as well. That's I know that's reaching a bit high, but whatever. Who else has something here? Well, whatever shop.com, right? And all of these are just individually created. Maybe something like Gatsby shops, which talks with the API and with the authentication service and with our file storage. Or it indirectly it talks with the file storage. What happens is you request maybe a product page from the store. You want to view a product page. Can we have like a page? Yeah, we can. Fantastic. Product, not pre-product. Product page requests. That's something that belongs to the stores over here. So what we want to do is anyone can view a product page. Anyone can view that. So that's just going to go over here. And we send this, that wasn't very good. We send this request directly to the, oh my God. This isn't going overly well. Maybe I'll change the color. Wow. Okay. Send it to the back and then change the color to something a bit better. Blue. There we go. Okay, so we send a request to the load balancer, which sends us on to Oh, sorry. Is there a URL where I can see this? I will put one up. I'll probably just do it on my website and then tweet it. So you can, if you just keep an eye on my Twitter, then you'll get a page where the video of this thing is, and then I'll put the diagram up there as well, so you can download it and have a look. But we send a request for a product, and that's the information about the product name, product description, the price, weight, technical specifications, whatever, what have you. That are all just text-based stuff. And then you also have your product pictures. And the REST API tells us that there are a number of pictures attached to this resource that we're requesting, and the address for those resources are over here. So we might have something like x1.filebucket.com. Bucket, not bigot. There. There. So we have this server which lives on x1.filebucket.com, and that's where our images are stored. So they will be something like, the address would probably be something like Brian's Cheese Shop, or maybe it's the API key, or some randomly generated key, and then product image.png. That's what the address for the file over here is, and that's what the API tells us. There's all this product information, and there's a bunch of images which lives on this address and has these names. So when we want to build the product page over here, we need to request the information, which is sent back, and the information we get back tells us, oh, you also have to get an image over here. Okay, we'll do that. But we can't send any images to it. So it's only readable. It's not writable from this end anyway. Only these stuffs up here, only this one up here has write access. And of course, the API has write access too, because you want to delete an image, then the API has to tell the file storage to delete the image. But this is basically the thing of it all. There's one thing that we need to attach to this, and that's the pay service. And those we cannot write ourselves for obvious reasons. We have to use already existing payment services. Something like, for Denmark, it's Nets. That's the Danish credit card manager. You can use Stripe, PayPal, all sorts of payment services, but they need to be attached to the store from outside. So that's just one extra layer. This is an entire shop system idea that I've been fighting with for some time. And let's see what time it is. There's 20 minutes left, so I think we should do some questions and stuff now. Like, what could possibly go wrong in a complex infrastructure like this? What should we be aware of? And obviously, if we're using external services like we're using Amazon S3, and we're using Atlas, and we're using Google to log in with, or Facebook or whatever. That's a lot of external services, microservices that we're using. What if those services deprecate? What if those services decide to deprecate some functionality? That means that you have to redo all your code that deals with the old functionality and update it to the new functionality. That's something that happens. That's not unthinkable. So you definitely need to consider those things. I don't know. Are we still? Ooh, there's a lot of people here. Have we said hi to everybody? Everybody connected, say hi. Don't be shy. Or is it just me and Kumar now? I am not seeing any chat messages. Oh, and Kumar, thank you for the follow. That's 2 hours ago. Why didn't I get that until now? Thank you for the follow. We have to get you to do some live stream as well. But yeah, this is how I would start setting up something like the product that we're talking about. You covered everything apparently. If there are no questions, then definitely I covered everything. There's a lot of things that we haven't talked about. I've mentioned it a little bit, that like the front end dashboard thing over here, that it's going to be an SPA React JS application. It doesn't have to be. That's just a choice I'm taking because I like the native feeling that a single page application gives you, and you could even do it as an application if you did it in React Native. You could just make a native application that can be installed on whatever device you have, what have you, and that's almost like you're buying the Microsoft business application. I don't remember what that application name is, but Microsoft has this product which which companies use for invoicing and payrolls and their accounts and everything like that. So basically, you're buying access to an application that you can download and install and then use it that way. That's another way to do it, which we haven't covered, but. And then over here, you could do these shop instances, the front end shops, the actual shops, stores. You can do them in whatever way you want. It doesn't have to be like a Gatsby static site generated thing. It doesn't have to be that. It can be whatever, but I really like static site generated websites because they give a huge advantage to performance. It's ridiculous. I think there was this website where you could test whether or not your own website would fit on an old 3-inch disk, floppy disk, and if it would fit onto that, it's like something like 140 kilobytes or something like that. If it would fit onto that, then it's a fast website. It's fast downloadable, and it's quick to load. So even if you're wandering around on the savannah in Kenya, where there's absolutely no internet access, you would probably have a decent experience with it. And obviously, if you have a very good connection and you have a very good device, then you're just gonna have a good experience. It's not going to get worse for you if you have better equipment, but it's definitely not going to get worse for you if you have weaker equipment or a lousy internet connection or what have you. Yeah. What should we talk about now? What about the API? Some examples how to split that up, or is that a bad idea? Split what up exactly? What are you asking? Ooh, why is there a text? Go away. Splitting what up? Like the login thing? functions. Oh, I don't know if we can do that in 15 minutes. How would I draw that? What should your API do? Okay, okay. Functionality. I get what you're talking about now. Let's see, let's do something like this. And then just have like a, There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so what is the functionality? What is the API supposed to do? So we're supposed to serve. No, I don't want that. Just want to do this. Okay. Serve resources. And by that I mean images and assets. It should serve the reference for it, which is stored up here in the file storage. We should do like a products. Wow, products. There we go. What else could we do? Campaigns. Like if you want to create a campaign, you send a post request to the campaigns endpoint, and then you create a campaign for this product or this series of products. What else have we? Oh, I made a list over here, didn't I? Customers. Of course, you're supposed to see a list of your customers. Yeah. Oh. There we go. Customers, or maybe it's just users. I don't know. Users, customers, because users are both the users of where is it? Of this application here. Paying users that own a shop, but it's also the users who want to shop over here. So there are two kinds of users. Actually, there are maybe even more kinds of users. So that's something like role management, user role management, which means that we need an endpoint for that as well. Something like that. What else have we? Products, orders. You could post a new order if you're a. What about machine learning? What part should handle that? Or is that what you're talking about, machine learning? Machine learning could be used in a number of ways for a shop like this. You could have a search function up here in your store, in your front-end store, where machine learning is used to generate more clever lists of what you're actually searching for. So it's using some sort of real language interpreter. So maybe you're in your search bar, you're writing something like I would like a table. And then the machine learning knows that you're actually searching for table. You're not searching for I would like. That's one way to utilize it. You could also use it in a chat function where you have a chatbot AI that utilizes machine learning or some form of that for customer service, customer support, where it can tell you the rules of if somebody in the chat writes something like I would like to return this item that I bought yesterday, and then the chatbot knows how to reply to that very arbitrary sentence. So that's a way to use that. That's an extra layer of complexity that you could put on top of all of this, but it still needs to a machine learning bot, an AI of that sort, would still need to excuse me, would still need to communicate with the API down here in order to know what to do. There was one more thing over here. Orders, customers, campaigns, stock keeping, project management. There's a number of things that this is not the full list. There's supposed to be a lot of endpoints here, and this is not even remotely enough, but it gives you an idea of what it's supposed to do, I hope. And there are even for the search and the chat, support chat, there are a lot of other microservices that you can attach to your site, like organic search. Let's look at that. AI. No, just organic search. Okay, I just know there are some. I don't remember the. Okay, let's see. Maybe. Not really any. This is DuckDuckGo. That's terrible, DuckDuckGo. Why aren't we seeing some providers here? WordStream. Maybe WordStream is an organic search. No, it's just a dictionary. I give up. I cannot find it today. I'm just trying to go over this to see if there's anything missing. Don't think so. Elasticsearch. Oh yeah, Elasticsearch. Why do I get it in French? Oh. Get started with Elasticsearch. Site search. Crawl and search your website with ease. Yeah, this is probably something like that. They index your site for you, and then you can use human language to search the keywords that this site crawls you for. So that's probably a good one. That was a good catch. Elasticsearch. Definitely. I've never actually worked with it, but seeing from these who uses it, SurveyMonkey, Twilio, Shopify, what's that? Portland. City of Portland. Okay. Pretty big users. Probably not the worst product. What does it cost? Okay, standard $79 a month, billed monthly. So that would be something you added to a site only if the customer is willing to pay for it, of course. So for big sites, that would probably not be an issue, $79 a month. If they have like a large revenue and they can see that this will help them on their bottom line, then you could probably sell it to them. This is a whole thing that that I would not get started on coding myself, because this is just way too complex in and of its own, and this thing over here is not as complex. There's a lot of moving parts in this whole thing, but it's doable. Right, so I think that I will sign off for today. It's there's another 6 minutes left, but you know, that's I've been talking for a long time now, and I need my tea and my dinner. Oh, it's gotten cold. Yeah. So thank you for hanging out with me, and thank you for the questions. Great questions, all of them. I will be back next Thursday, same time. Not sure what I'm going to do next Thursday. Maybe I'll do some of the stuff that I've been drawing up today. Possibly, I don't know. Some of the more exciting stuff, probably not some of the boring stuff down here. Not going to do some database setup or stuff on a stream. That's not very exciting. But maybe some of the API stuff or some of the front end dashboard thing. Possibly do some of that. That's always fun to do. So that is it for today. And I'll see you next Thursday. Thank you for hanging out, and take care. Don't get too locked up in your own house these days. It's allowed to go out. At least here in Denmark, we're still allowed to go out, and I do that a lot. I walk a lot I walk every evening for a long time. It's a good way to get a bit of exercise when we're locked up like this, and it's nice to get out of the apartment just sometimes. Right, so thank you for hanging out, and I will see you next week, hopefully. Take care.